Hey guys and girls, Mars here, and today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm going to put my best Biffa hat on and do some traffic management. So, welcome back to Burlington. Now this is the little town I've been working on for the last couple of weeks. This is the area here that I've got the construction yard. Over here is the stadium that I built the other week. But this week we are actually looking at this particular area here. And in particular, we're looking at managing the traffic. As you can see, there is plenty of traffic building up in all directions, and they're all located around this roundabout. Now, I've been tweaking and playing and mucking around with this thing ever since I first created it. I kind of sort of was asking for trouble when I had the main highway going to this big massive roundabout, but it looks great, so I thought I went with it. So, when it comes to sort of trying to fix this issue, the first thing I did, I obviously went through all of the lanes and I selected all the lanes and I've adjusted all of that, and I made sure that, you know, everything on the roundabout has priority and they all got their proper turning lanes and stuff like that. So Biffa would be proud. Like, I've gone through and I've done the lane mathematics, you could say, and I've made sure everything works that way. And that worked for a bit. Like, it actually fixed up everything. But secondly, I realized that there was way too much foot traffic trying to get across this intersection. So as you can see, I've built this very gaudy looking footpath that actually sort of cuts right across the Arc de Triomphe. Comes from the airport, actually, comes right across this bridge all the way down this main road. As you can see, it is absolutely jam-packed full of people, and it has been very, very popular. And then it kind of just deposits everyone on the other side of the intersection here. And as you can see, just in this area here, there is already pedestrian issues coming along here. Like, I had to put another bridge across here because it was cutting this one off. But pretty much everyone just walks to the city, which is great. But it does cause havoc when it comes to traffic, because all the traffic has to give way to pedestrians, because apparently pedestrians don't care and they just want to ride out in front of you. So secondly, another thing that I did, I realized that the traffic coming across this bridge, it was originally a two-way bridge, but no one was traveling in the other direction. Like seriously, like zero cars were heading in that direction. They're all coming this way. I guess they're using the other bridge over here, or maybe the big main crossing over here by the stadium. So what I did originally is I just changed it to a one-way bridge, I should say, with two lanes, and as you can see, it's got a steady flow of traffic coming across it. But then all the traffic was pouring down the road that cuts through here and cutting across the intersection here. Now what was happening was it was blocking all the traffic coming from this direction. It was also blocking the traffic coming around, and it would just bottleneck around the roundabout real quickly and just choke everything up. So what I did is I actually turned this into a car park. And I've seen this in actual cities before, where they've identified a road as a trouble spot, so they've actually just blocked it off. I put some bollards there so no one's cheeky and tries to sneak through. And I've just turned the whole road into a big car park, and as you can see, it's very, very popular, and I actually really, really like it. So, which means though that all the traffic now flows down this street and then does a U-turn into the roundabout down here. Now this works well, except because these two lanes have priority, this one here gets chockers all the way back into the city. So I would hate to be coming out of Old Town, because it would take you like an hour to get from Old Town just to the roundabout here to get onto the highway. So this all needs to be fixed. So long story short, if I just zoom out a little bit, from this area here, we have a flow of traffic that comes through, and then cuts across the highway. So that's one major issue. We've got another big flow of traffic that comes up from the city here, and then that actually cuts through and around the roundabout and cuts across the highway. So that's another issue. But then it gets all intersected by this one major flow of traffic that comes through and cuts them both off, and actually flows up to this direction. So they're the three main flows of traffic, you could say, that run through this intersection. Because they intersect with each other, that's where we have the trouble, and then the traffic gets too heavy. So what I'm going to do, I'm now going to jump into a time lapse, and I've come up with a very, very creative solution. I think it looks great, and you guys will see how it comes out in just a moment. Okay, so my idea was to actually build a bypass past the entire thing, but I also want to try to keep it aesthetically pleasing. It is a tourist spot location as it is, and I don't want it, to be messed up by big, massive overpasses and stuff like that. They're pretty ugly at the best of times. I'll try to make it as pretty as possible with as minimal damage. So the bunch of buildings I just destroyed is pretty much the biggest group. I only took out about 10 or so buildings all up to build this whole thing. And everything else I kind of just moved slightly to make it fit nicely. So as you can see, what I'm doing, I'm just putting in this actual main bypass, and the whole bypass has an on-ramp and off-ramp on the highway, and another on-ramp and off-ramp on the main road just past the roundabout. And just that itself relieves a lot of the traffic. Like that pretty much takes care of all of the tailbacks I get on the highway. As you can see below what I'm doing right here, this extra detail work, all that traffic is already starting to like sort of, you know, disappear pretty quickly, and people are just using the bypass instead, which is exactly what I wanted to do with this project. So what I'm doing now is I'm just adding a bit of detail, just to kind of adding you know, just a little bit of character to the actual overpass and not just have it as a straight standard overpass. I quite like how the look came out. You see this sort of stuff kind of often, especially with the overpasses and infrastructure that was built back in the 70s and 80s, where they're kind of like sort of, you know, trying to be artistic with concrete. But it doesn't really look very good, and it's probably more structural than anything else. But, you know, I slap on a few billboards here and there and make it a little bit more, you know, sort of commercialized, and I think it looks quite nice. Like, it's kind of a nice blend between, you know, sort of industrial, you know, look, as well as them trying to put some sort of effort into making it look good. So here is that other bridge that comes from the new part of town, and as you can see, I'm just building a sort of overpass that just sort of bypasses the whole lot. Sneaks up that little road that has now become a car park, just straight over the top of it. So now it's a covered car park, which is even better if you park your car there every day. And now, yeah, the traffic can just come straight out of that city, across the river, completely bypass the roundabout, and head straight into the highway. And the good thing about this is that it flows into the lane coming through, so you don't actually ever have to change direction. I haven't actually adjusted that yet to stop that guy from doing a U-turn, but I will do in a moment. But the idea is that when you get onto this intersection, you just keep driving straight until you pretty much come out the other end. So this is the third on-ramp that I've added, and same thing, it feeds straight into the second on-ramp, which then feeds straight back onto the first on-ramp, and the whole lot just feeds straight on through. Pretty much all you have to do is just enter this intersection, and you just pretty much end up where you need to be on the other side, which is great. It saves a lot of traffic, and it makes it flow a lot more smoother too. So here I'm just detailing this whole waterfront area. I've never been happy with it. Those sea walls are really boring and very, very wide for my liking. Like, there's always this big square, like 30-meter wide wall, which looks a bit weird. So I'm sort of just covering them with planters here, but I'm also struggling just to get them level. The way that this game works with its walls, it goes, like, a lot of these items I'm placing are actually based on the ground level, which is beneath the wall itself. So as you can see, I'm actually laying stuff here underground, and then have to pick it up, like select it, and then lift it above ground, and then level it, and then, you know, like, so it's a very, very fiddly. In other words, what I'm getting, like, if you've ever done this sort of detail work before, you know exactly how difficult this sort of stuff is. It's very fiddly, very annoying, and just trying to make it work. And that's why I keep it quite basic and quite simple. You know, I just throw down some trees and just some basic bushes and a couple of palms, and that's about it. Like, I'm not going to bother putting much more detail into this sort of area. I mean, it looks pretty good as it is. And this is the end result we've got. So this is what it looked like beforehand. You can see the traffic building up, and this is what it looks like afterwards. I think it's a really nice way of actually integrating all of the new on-ramps and everything into the old city, with that we're doing very minimal damage and trying not to muddy up the area too much with just all this infrastructure. As you can see, there's so much traffic flowing across that new bypass, and it just works an absolute treat. So it looks quite cool too. I like it. It works really, really well. This is another angle. As you can see there, those tailbacks coming off the highway that I was talking about earlier, and with the new on-ramp, boom, they're gone. Like, it has cleaned up this whole area perfectly. As you can see, there's plenty of traffic flowing over the overpass. And with this shot, I've actually swept around the entire roundabout to kind of give you an idea of how much it's improved. So here you can see what it's like afterwards. You know, the traffic flows quite smoothly and neatly. Here it is beforehand. You can see there's so much traffic. It's so chockers. They're backing up. They're having to give way to each other. Whereas now it flows smoothly and clean, and it's just great. Like, you know, old horrible mess, new smooth hotness. There it goes. See, now emergency vehicles can get through without getting choked up as well. So just finally, this is coming in from Old Town. You can see this is where that traffic backs up for ages. And now that I've put that bypass on the left, there is no traffic. There's cars parked on the side of the road because there's plenty of room for parking, and everything just flows beautifully. So there you go, there's that old horrible mess, and they're all glitching out on top of each other, and, like, you know, that's really, really bad when that happens. Whereas now everything flows perfectly, and it just seems to work the way that it needs to work. and it still looks really, really good, which is what I like. This next shot, yeah, this is probably the only part where you'll have any negative sort of remarks, because obviously the people walking down this pathway want to get a beautiful view of the Arc de Triomphe, but now it's got a big highway overpass in the way. But other than that, I think it works fantastic. So once again, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe. If you haven't already, ring that bell for notifications, and I will see you next Friday.